Patrick McNeil back here with you at the intermission as we continue to get to meet various members of Cape Breton Eagles staff throughout the year. Now I'm joined by Manager of Ticket Sales, Taylor Collingwood. Taylor, what does Manager of Ticket Sales do? Describe your position as best you can.
I do lots of things. I manage things from birthday parties to group sales, a liaison between the Center 200 box office. Basically, I just try to make an Eagles game as accessible as possible to the people of Cape Breton because I know it's a hockey town and I know they want to go see the games. So hit me up.
You're from Alberta and you're working in Nova Scotia. Everybody will make the joke and laugh. That's the reverse of how it usually goes. So how does this happen?
I actually met my girlfriend out in Alberta. We started working at the same restaurant back in, I think, 2012. We actually moved to Vancouver for a year in 2014. She basically said, this is great. I love living on the coast, but we're on the wrong one. So I was like, all right, we'll go back to Edmonton, work for a year, and then we landed here in, I think it was the summer of 2016.
And she's from Cape Breton, of course, hence bringing Taylor back to her home. I know this story better than anybody other than you, but tell us how you first became to be involved with the Eagles.
I actually reached out to you. It was November, I think, of 2016-17 season. I emailed you basically just saying, how can I help? We ended up meeting one day. I think we talked for something like 4 hours straight. And then one thing led to another. I eventually met people who were working the front office then. They had me volunteer, help out. I can't believe it's already been 3 years. It's been a lot of learning on my part, for sure.
And I think people would think manager ticket sales involves a lot of obviously selling to individuals or groups or whatnot, but what does an average game day look like for Taylor Collingwood?
It can involve pretty much whatever gets thrown at me. Sometimes we'll have tech issues. Sometimes we need to restock certain things depending on the game, set up tables, because each game is an event in itself and each event is uniquely different in its own way. I just try to help set up however I can. We'll print off the rosters, we'll print off the media notes for everyone working with the press box, just testing, setting up cameras. I really try to do it all. I know I can't, obviously I'm only one person, but I really do like to be able to help out in all regards of game day.
You mentioned reaching out to me, and people listen to the pregame show, and there's a lot of statistics involved, and what you started doing, you started helping me with those and compiling those numbers. Was that something that you always kind of enjoyed, and how much does that help you in your current job? Because it kind of seems like it's a bit different than what you're doing now.
I actually really enjoyed doing the stats for you. It wasn't necessarily an easy or quick job, but I found it to really teach me about the Q quickly. Growing up in Alberta, I didn't really know anything about the Q, besides maybe Sidney Crosby and other big names that came out of there. But when it came to the players that were in the league and even the pronunciation and spelling of teams, I really had no idea. So having me do that really helped me, again, just learn the teams, learn the divisions, learn the players' names, the history as well. So it was basically a crash course in learning the Q. It was great.
I remember us talking about this. I was saying, you don't have to do all this if you don't want to. And you said, no, this is good because it's helped me learn the league. I think Taylor Collingwood is somebody that Taylor Collingwood is trying to reach out to because you come from Edmonton, big Oilers fan, don't know a lot about junior hockey. Now, obviously, you have a passion for the product. What would you say to all the people out there that might be listening that were like your former self, maybe didn't know a lot about junior hockey? How would you sell them on the product and how it's just as exciting, if not more, than the NHL?
It's more unexpected. Anything can happen in junior hockey. You watch NHL and you're watching a game, you're like, all right, it's 2-1 going to third. You can sort of guess how a game is going to go when you watch the NHL, especially when you know the teams. Whereas in junior, anything can happen. You hold on to the puck for too long, a quick turnover happens. It's really an exciting game, I think. It's just more unexpected, I think is the word that I would use. And if I have any advice, it's go see your junior hockey teams. I see too many buildings with not enough fans in it, and it's a shame because these are kids who are going to be superstars one day. It's a great product on the ice, and Canadians, I know, are passionate about hockey, and it's a lot cheaper than going to an NHL game. You get basically the same experience, and you save a lot of money.
That is very true. Now, you didn't just jump from doing numbers for me in the pregame show to doing what you do now. You worked with the Cape Breton Highlanders last year, obviously a different sport, but in terms of the mechanics of the job, probably similar to what you're doing now. Tell us about your experience with the Highlanders and how did that help you for your position right now?
The Highlanders was another crash course. When I started volunteering for the Eagles, another fellow who was volunteering for the Scream Eagles at the time said, if you're volunteering for the hockey team, would you be interested in volunteering with the basketball team? And I said, sure, the more experience, the better. So I started volunteering for the basketball team as well, and then the following year, I got hired on as operations manager, which was great. I learned a lot. I was able to carry a lot of what I learned from last year into this year. It was basically just a crash course, and I learned a lot, and I'm very thankful for my time with the Highlanders. I don't think that any position or any job would have taught me as much as I did doing what I did with the Highlanders.
And it's fair to say quickly that a lot of the management stuff from sport to sport, probably not exactly the same, but probably pretty similar.
Absolutely, yeah. It's different hats, the same uniform, I guess you could say. I've read a lot where it's like if you're looking to get into sports management or working within sports, you can't limit yourself. You have to be able to be open, willing to take on that adversity, and be willing to learn. That's one of the pieces of advice when I first showed up here. You don't need to be trained formally in school. As long as you're willing to show up and willing to learn, you can be taught how to do anything.
On-the-job training is the best training, I guess. Lastly, I'll ask you the same question I've been asking a lot of staff. Because you've become so involved now, you probably have a better perspective than most people as to what the community's feeling is towards this rebrand. How much enthusiasm do you sense from the community in your job trying to sell them tickets?
A lot. I see it a lot. Even things when it comes to our store, people are still commenting on the new logo and how much they like it. Obviously, winning is a big deal. That helps in any market. That's good. I think just the organizational structure as well is a big deal. Just a culture change. It's really brought it all together. I see Cape Bretoners rallying behind their team because they want to.
That's great to hear. Great insight, Taylor, and best of luck working with the team the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, Patty. Thanks for having me.
That's Taylor Collingwood, is the manager of ticket sales for the Cape Breton Eagles. You're listening to the intermission of Carstar, Cape Breton Eagles Hockey, 1270 CJCB.